My husband and his mother thought they could destroy me and walk away with my money. They thought I was weak, naive, and too in love to fight back. Now they have nothing. Not a home, not a dollar, not even each other. This is the story of how I turned their betrayal into the most devastating revenge they never saw coming. If you've ever been betrayed by the people you trusted most, hit that like button and subscribe. Because what you're about to hear isn't just a story, it's a warning. Never underestimate the strength of someone you've pushed too far. Hi, my name is Ava, and this is the story of how my life was destroyed, and how I destroyed them right back. When I first met Adrian, I thought he was the love of my life. He was charming, ambitious, and seemed to understand me in ways no one else ever had. We met at a charity gala, of all places, where I was volunteering to help raise funds for underprivileged children. Adrian walked in wearing a perfectly tailored suit, with that confident yet approachable smile that made everyone turn their heads. He struck up a conversation with me by the dessert table. I still remember what he said. "You have this look about you," he said, his voice smooth and teasing. "Like you're here to save the world, but someone forgot to save you." I laughed, probably blushed, and for the first time in years, I felt seen. We spent the entire evening talking, and by the end of the night, I was completely captivated. Over the next few months, our relationship moved quickly. He introduced me to his mother, Patricia, fairly early on. She was, well, let's just say she was intimidating. Patricia was a sharp, calculating woman who seemed to size me up with every glance. At first, I thought she was just being protective of her son. But there was something in her eyes, a coldness, like she was silently assessing whether I was worth her time or her son's. "So, Ava," she said the first time we met, her tone cool and clipped. "What exactly do you do for a living?" "I'm an interior designer," I replied, trying to keep my voice warm and friendly. "I run my own business, mostly high-end residential projects." Her lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "How nice. At least you won't be completely dependent on Adrian." The way she said it stung, but Adrian quickly jumped in. "Mom, Ava's incredibly talented. She's built her business from the ground up." Patricia gave a little nod, like she was humoring him. That was the first red flag, but I ignored it. Adrian and I got married a year later in a beautiful ceremony. For a while, things were perfect, or at least they seemed perfect. Patricia kept her distance, mostly. She'd make these little comments at family dinners, subtle digs about my work, or hints that Adrian was meant for bigger things than settling down with someone like me. I brushed it off, thinking she just didn't know me well enough yet. But things started to shift after my business took off. I landed a massive contract with a luxury real estate developer, and suddenly my company was pulling in more money than I'd ever dreamed of. Adrian seemed proud of me at first. We celebrated with champagne and a weekend getaway. Then Patricia started showing up more often. She'd pop by unannounced, always with that polite, icy smile. She began making comments about how I should consider merging my business accounts with Adrian's for tax purposes, or putting his name on some of my properties for security. I didn't think much of it at first, but Adrian started echoing her suggestions. "It's just practical, Ava," he said one night as we were going over bills. "We're married. What's mine is yours, and what's yours is mine, right?" Something about the way he said it made my stomach twist. I trusted him. But Patricia's influence was growing stronger by the day. I could feel it. Then came the night that changed everything. We were having dinner at Patricia's house. She had made her famous roast chicken, and everything seemed normal until dessert. Patricia cleared her throat, folded her hands neatly, and said, "Ava, dear, I think it's time we talked about the future." I smiled politely. "Of course. What about it?" Her gaze sharpened. "Adrian and I have been discussing some things. For the good of the family, we think it's best if you sign over partial control of your business to Adrian. That way, all assets stay within the family." I froze, my fork halfway to my mouth. "Excuse me? Why would I do that?" Adrian reached for my hand, his grip tight. "Babe, listen. It's just a formality. My mom's right. It protects us both." Patricia's smile didn't reach her eyes. "You wouldn't want to put Adrian in a difficult position, would you?" My chest tightened. This wasn't about protection. This was about control. "No," I said firmly, pulling my hand away. "I built my business myself. It stays mine." The room went silent. Patricia's face hardened, and Adrian's jaw clenched. In that moment, I saw it. The betrayal lurking beneath the surface. I just didn't know how deep it ran. Yet, the ride home that night was silent. Adrian drove with both hands gripping the wheel, his jaw set so tight I could see the muscles flexing. The streetlights passed over his face in harsh flashes, making him look like a stranger. Finally, I broke the silence. "You didn't say a word back there, Adrian?" "Not one word in my defense." He didn't look at me. His eyes locked on the road. "Ava, you overreacted." "My mom was just trying to help." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Help?" "Adrian, she asked me to hand over my company like it was nothing. That's not help. That's manipulation." He slammed his hand against the steering wheel, making me flinch. "Damn it, Ava, can't you see she's just looking out for us? You think too small. You don't understand how the world works." I stared at him, my chest tight. "No, Adrian, I understand perfectly. You just stood there and let her treat me like a pawn." When we got home, I went straight to our bedroom, locked the door, and cried until my throat was raw. The weeks that followed were tense. Patricia kept her distance, but I could feel her presence like a shadow over our marriage. Adrian became secretive. He started taking late-night calls, stepping out of the room whenever his phone rang. When I asked about it, he brushed me off. "Work stuff, Ava. Don't worry about it." But I did worry. I started noticing little things disappearing from our house. Jewelry, expensive watches, a few signed client contracts I had left in my office drawer. At first, I thought I was imagining it, until I checked our joint bank account. Tens of thousands of dollars were gone. When I confronted Adrian, he didn't even try to deny it. "It's just a temporary transfer," he said smoothly, his tone rehearsed. "Mom needed some help covering an investment. We'll get it back soon." My blood went cold. "You took our money without even asking me? Without telling me where it's going?" "It's my money too," he snapped. "And don't talk about my mom like that. She's family, Ava. She's done more for us than you realize." I wanted to scream, but something inside me went still instead. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't just Adrian making bad choices. Patricia was pulling the strings, and Adrian was letting her. I started digging quietly. I went through our financial records late at night when Adrian was asleep. What I found made my stomach turn. Adrian had been funneling money into a shell company, one that Patricia owned. It wasn't just the missing jewelry or the joint account withdrawals. It was everything. My savings, my business profits, even the retirement account I had painstakingly built over years of hard work. All of it was being drained. Bit by bit, I felt sick, like the floor had dropped out from under me. The next morning, I tried to confront him again, this time armed with evidence. I laid out the bank statements on the kitchen table. "Explain this," I said, my voice trembling. Adrian barely glanced at the papers. "You've been spying on me?" he demanded, his voice rising. "You've completely lost it, Ava." "Don't you dare turn this on me," I shouted, slamming my fist on the table. "You and your mother are stealing from me." "From us." He leaned back in his chair, his expression eerily calm. "It's not stealing if it's mine, Ava. We're married. Everything you have is mine too." My heart pounded. "You don't mean that." But he did. I saw it in his eyes. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of our relationship. The charm, the romance, the whirlwind courtship. It all felt like a carefully constructed lie. Patricia's cutting remarks, Adrian's sudden obsession with family assets, the secret calls. It wasn't random. It was a plan, and I had walked right into their trap. The breaking point came 2 days later. I came home early from a client meeting and heard voices in the living room. Adrian and Patricia were arguing. "She won't sign, Mom," Adrian was saying, his voice desperate. "She's not as gullible as we thought." Patricia's response was icy. "Then make her sign, Adrian. Do whatever it takes. We need control before the quarter ends." My blood ran cold. I stepped into the room, my hands shaking. "Before the quarter ends for what, exactly?" They both froze. Adrian's face went pale. Patricia recovered first, her expression twisting into a mask of false sweetness. "Ava, darling, this isn't what it looks like." "Save it," I spat. I heard everything. Adrian stood, reaching for me. "Ava, please, just listen." I stumbled back, tears burning my eyes. "No, you two planned this from the beginning. You never loved me, Adrian. This was all about my business. My money." Patricia's mask dropped, revealing the cold, ruthless woman beneath. "Finally," she sneered. "You understand?" My world shattered. Without another word, I turned and walked out. I didn't even take my keys. I just ran until my legs gave out. For 3 days, I stayed with my best friend, Lily, while I tried to figure out what to do. Lily was furious when I told her everything. "We're going to the police," she said immediately. "This is fraud, theft. He can't just take your money like that." But I shook my head. "No, if we go to the police now, they'll cover their tracks. Patricia has connections. We need proof. Solid proof." That was when the idea started forming. I wasn't going to just stop them. I was going to destroy them. But to do that, I needed to play their game. I needed to be smarter, quieter, and far more ruthless than they ever imagined. For the first time in days, I felt something other than despair. I felt rage. And beneath that rage, a cold, precise determination. "Lily," I said, my voice steady, "help me gather everything we can on Patricia's company. I have a plan." Lily nodded, her eyes blazing. "Let's burn them to the ground." The next morning, I woke up with a clarity I hadn't felt in weeks. My grief and shock had hardened into something sharper, a weapon. Patricia and Adrian thought they were playing chess while I was playing checkers. They didn't realize I had just switched games entirely. I wasn't going to confront them head on. Not yet. That's what they expected. Instead, I would let them believe they had won, right up until the moment I took everything back and left them with nothing. Lily and I got to work immediately. She was my anchor through all of this, a fiercely loyal friend and, conveniently, a brilliant paralegal. She knew where to look, what to document, and how to keep our investigation airtight. We started by digging into Patricia's company. On paper, it looked like a small family-run investment firm, but the deeper we went, the more alarming it became. Shell companies, fake addresses, transactions routed through offshore accounts. It was a labyrinth of fraud. Patricia wasn't just stealing from me. She was stealing from a lot of people. Wealthy retirees, small business owners, even a few charities. "Holy crap, Ava," Lily muttered one night, scrolling through a spreadsheet on her laptop. "This isn't just theft. It's a full-blown Ponzi scheme." I leaned over her shoulder, my stomach churning as I read the numbers. "So if it collapses, hundreds of people lose everything," Lily finished grimly. The realization was horrifying, and also, in a twisted way, an opportunity. Patricia's empire was built on lies. All I had to do was pull the right thread, and the whole thing would unravel. But first, I had to secure my own assets. I met with a discreet attorney recommended by Lily, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Camille. She listened quietly as I laid out everything. The marriage, the stolen money, Patricia's manipulation. When I finished, Camille leaned back in her chair and steepled her fingers. "You're in a precarious position, Ava. Legally, a lot of what Adrian took might be considered marital property, depending on how accounts were set up." "So what do I do?" I asked, trying to keep the desperation out of my voice. "2 things," she said crisply. "First, separate yourself financially. Immediately. Close joint accounts. Transfer your business assets to a trust in your name only, and document every dollar Adrian moved without consent. And second," a slow, knowing smile curved Camille's lips, "gather evidence, not just of the theft, but of intent. If you can prove this was a coordinated scheme between your husband and his mother, we're not just talking divorce. We're talking criminal charges." A flicker of hope sparked in my chest. "How much evidence are we talking?" "Enough to make sure when they go down, they stay down," Camille said. For the next few weeks, I played my part carefully. To Adrian and Patricia, I acted defeated. I stopped questioning their late-night calls. I even pretended to reconsider signing over part of my business, saying I just needed time to come to terms with it. Adrian bought it completely. His guard slipped. He started leaving documents lying around the house again, answering calls in front of me, even letting Patricia visit without scrambling to hide things. Meanwhile, Lily and I documented everything. I set up hidden cameras in my home office, a voice recorder in my purse, and a secure cloud backup for every file we found. Piece by piece, we built a case so airtight Patricia wouldn't be able to wriggle free, no matter how connected she was. The most painful part was pretending with Adrian. Some nights, he'd wrap his arms around me and whisper, "I know things have been rough, babe, but soon we'll have everything we've ever dreamed of." I'd force a smile, nodding like I believed him, while inside my heart was breaking. This was the man I had married. The man I thought would protect me. And here he was conspiring with his mother to destroy me. Every touch felt like a lie. Every kiss like a betrayal. One evening, Adrian came home buzzing with excitement. "Mom's pulling off something huge next quarter," he said, pacing the living room. "Once it's done, we'll be set for life. But we need you to sign those transfer papers first. It'll make everything cleaner legally." My stomach twisted, but I kept my voice light. "Of course, honey. I just want to make sure everything's perfect before I sign. You know me, always a perfectionist." He grinned, completely fooled. "That's my girl." When he left the room, I exhaled slowly, my hands trembling. That was my opening. Patricia was planning a major move soon, which meant there would be sensitive documents, wire transfers, and deals happening quickly. If I timed it right, I could catch them in the act. The next day, Lily and I went to a quiet cafe and spread out everything we had collected so far. Bank records, shell company structures, recordings of Adrian and Patricia openly discussing the plan. "We almost have enough," Lily said, flipping through a binder. "But if we can get a copy of that final deal Patricia mentioned, we'll have her dead to rights." I nodded, determination burning in my chest. Then we wait for the perfect moment. The perfect moment came sooner than expected. Late one night, Adrian got a call. I pretended to be asleep as he answered. "Yeah, Mom, everything's ready on my end," he whispered. "Tomorrow morning. The wire goes through at 9 sharp. My pulse quickened. This was it. As soon as Adrian left for work the next morning, I followed Patricia to her office building. It was a sleek, modern space with tinted windows, all smoke and mirrors, just like her. I waited in my car, watching through binoculars as she carried a thick briefcase inside. Lily was on speakerphone. "You need that briefcase, Ava," she said urgently. "It's probably holding the contract for tomorrow's wire transfer." "I know," I whispered. "I just need a way to get close without her seeing me." An opportunity presented itself when Patricia's assistant stepped outside for a smoke break. I slipped into the building behind her, my heart pounding like a drum. Inside, I found Patricia's office door slightly ajar. Voices drifted out, Patricia's cold, clipped tone and Adrian's eager replies. "Once Ava signs, we'll move the rest of her assets," Patricia was saying. "By the time she realizes what's happened, it'll be too late." I clenched my fists so hard my nails bit into my palms. Carefully, I set my phone on the edge of the doorframe, recording everything. "And after that?" Adrian asked. Patricia's laugh was like ice water. "After that, she's no longer our problem." My breath caught. Did she mean financially? Or something worse? I didn't want to find out. As soon as they left the room, I darted inside, grabbed the briefcase, and snapped photos of every document inside. The top page was labeled, "Final Asset Transfer, Ava Reynolds." My name, in black and white. I barely made it out of the building before they returned, my pulse racing. "Got it," I whispered into the phone. "We finally have them." Lily's voice trembled with excitement. "Then it's time to set your plan in motion. Let's bring them down, Ava." Completely. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt powerful. Patricia and Adrian thought they were the predators. But now, they were about to learn what it felt like to be prey. The next 48 hours were a blur of adrenaline and precision planning. Lily and I worked through the night, fueled by coffee and rage, as we assembled every piece of evidence into a weapon sharp enough to cut Patricia and Adrian down to nothing. By dawn, my dining room table was covered with binders, USB drives, and a meticulous timeline of events. Patricia had no idea that the same daughter-in-law she had mocked, manipulated, and underestimated was about to dismantle her entire empire. "This is more than enough to take them to court," Lily said, flipping through a stack of documents. "But Ava, you wanted more than just a legal victory." I looked up, my eyes cold and steady. "I don't want them to just lose in court, Lily. I want them ruined. I want them to feel the way I felt when I realized my whole life had been a lie." "Then," Lily said with a small, wicked smile, "we go nuclear. First, we needed allies, the kind Patricia couldn't buy or intimidate. Camille, my attorney, connected us with an investigator who specialized in corporate fraud. His name was Detective Marcus Hale, a grizzled man with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. When we met him at his office, he listened intently as we laid everything out. The stolen funds, the shell companies, the Ponzi scheme Patricia was running. "You weren't kidding," he muttered, flipping through the files. "This woman is a professional con artist. She's been doing this for years." "Can you bring her down?" I asked. He gave me a slow, wolfish grin. "With this evidence?" "Absolutely. But if you want it to stick, we'll need her to incriminate herself in real time. Recordings are great, but catching her during an actual illegal transaction? That's ironclad." I nodded, determination hardening inside me. "I can get that." "Good," Marcus said, "because once we move, it has to be fast and brutal. People like Patricia don't go down quietly." The next step was psychological warfare. I needed Patricia, and Adrian overconfident, distracted, and completely unaware of the storm gathering around them. So I did what they never expected. I called Patricia and asked to meet for coffee. She arrived at the upscale cafe wearing a pristine white suit, her pearls gleaming under the morning sun. Her smile was as sharp as ever. "Ava, darling, I must say, this is a pleasant surprise." I forced a smile, every muscle in my face aching from the effort. "I've been thinking, Patricia, about what you and Adrian said. Maybe you're right. Maybe I've been too stubborn about the business." Her eyes lit up, greed barely hidden beneath her polished exterior. "Oh, Ava, I knew you'd come around eventually. I don't want to lose Adrian," I said, letting my voice tremble slightly. "If signing some papers will make things easier, then fine. I'll do it." Patricia reached across the table and patted my hand like a benevolent queen blessing her subject. "You're making the right choice, dear. Adrian will be so pleased." Inside, I wanted to rip my hand away and scream. Instead, I lowered my gaze and whispered, "Thank you for understanding." As we parted ways, Patricia looked almost smug. She thought she had won. And that arrogance was exactly what I needed. That evening, Adrian came home grinning like a fool. "Mom said you're ready to sign." "Ava, this is going to change everything for us." I nodded, feigning nervousness. "I just want to make sure everything's perfect before we finalize it. Can we go to Patricia's office tomorrow and do it there? I think it'll feel more official." Adrian kissed my forehead, oblivious. "Of course, babe. Tomorrow morning, then." As soon as he left the room, I called Marcus and Lily. "It's happening tomorrow," I said. "Be ready." The next morning, I dressed carefully. A soft blue blouse, understated jewelry, just enough makeup to hide the fury simmering beneath my skin. When Adrian saw me, he smiled like everything was normal, like he hadn't been plotting to destroy me for months. "You look beautiful," he said, taking my hand. "Thanks," I replied flatly, pulling my fingers away. We drove to Patricia's office in silence. My heart pounded harder with every passing mile, but I forced myself to stay calm. Today wasn't about rage. It was about precision. Patricia greeted us in her office with champagne already chilling in a bucket. "To new beginnings," she declared, her voice dripping with false warmth. "To endings," I murmured under my breath. We sat at a glossy mahogany table while Patricia slid a thick stack of papers toward me. "Just sign here, dear. And here. Oh, and initial this page." I picked up the pen, my hand steady. "Can I read through everything first?" Patricia's smile flickered, irritation flashing in her eyes. "Of course, but there's really no need. Adrian's already reviewed it." "Still," I said sweetly, "I like to be thorough." While I pretended to read, Marcus and two undercover investigators waited in a van across the street. Through the tiny microphone hidden in my necklace, they were recording every word. "We're live, Ava." Marcus's voice crackled softly in my ear. "Just keep her talking." I took a deep breath. "Patricia, can I ask you something?" "Anything, darling." "Why now? Why is it so important that this transfer happens today?" Her lips curved into a shark-like smile. "Because, my dear, timing is everything in business. Once these papers are signed, your assets will be legally merged with Adrian's and by extension my firm. After that, there's nothing anyone can do to separate them again." My stomach turned, but I forced myself to nod. "I see. And what happens after that?" Patricia leaned back in her chair, completely relaxed. After that, Ava, you'll no longer have to worry about running your little company. Adrian and I will take care of everything. You can focus on other things." "Like what?" Her eyes gleamed. "Like staying out of the way." Adrian shifted uncomfortably beside her, but he didn't say a word. I let out a soft, nervous laugh. "Wow, you really have thought of everything." "Of course I have," Patricia said, her tone smug. "Do you think I'd leave something this important to chance?" Marcus's voice hissed in my ear. "We got it. Keep her going just a little longer." I set the pen down and folded my hands. "Patricia, can I ask one more thing? Just for my peace of mind." "Certainly, dear." "All those other investors you've been working with, the retirees, the charities, they're part of this too, right?" For the first time, Patricia hesitated. Then she laughed, a cold, cutting sound. "Oh, Ava, those people are marks, nothing more. They give us their money, we move it around, and when the time comes, we let them think they've made a profit. Everyone's happy." My blood boiled, but my voice stayed calm. "And if they ever find out the truth?" Patricia's smile was pure venom. "They won't. And if they do, well, let's just say I have ways of handling problems." Marcus's voice came through the earpiece, triumphant. "That's it. That's the nail in her coffin. Ava, walk out now. We'll handle the rest." But I wasn't done. Not yet. "Actually, Patricia," I said, standing slowly, "I think I'll keep this copy for my records." She frowned. "What copy?" I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder, the duplicate documents I'd prepared in secret. "The copy you just signed, admitting to fraud, theft, and conspiracy." Adrian's eyes went wide. "Ava, what are you talking about?" Before I could answer, the office door burst open and Marcus stormed in, flanked by 2 uniformed officers. "Patricia." "Reed, you're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and racketeering," Marcus announced, his voice booming. The look on Patricia's face was priceless. Shock, rage, and fear all tangled together. "This is ridiculous," she shrieked. "You can't do this to me. Adrian, do something." But Adrian just sat there, pale and trembling. "Mom, what did you do?" As the officers cuffed Patricia and read her rights, I turned to Adrian, my voice like ice. "She didn't do this alone, Adrian, and neither did you." His mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. "Ava, please. You don't understand." "Oh, I understand perfectly," I cut in. "You chose her. You chose greed. And now you can live with the consequences." Marcus gestured toward Adrian. "We have enough to bring him in too. Do you want to press charges, Ava?" I looked into Adrian's tear-filled eyes, memories of our entire relationship flashing before me. The love, the lies, the betrayal. Finally, I nodded. "Yes, press every single one." As they hauled Adrian and Patricia away, Patricia screamed over her shoulder. "This isn't over, Ava. You'll regret this." I smiled, cold and victorious. "No, Patricia, you will." But even as I stood there, heart pounding, I knew this was just the beginning. Because destroying their empire wasn't enough. I wanted them to feel true despair, the kind that lingers long after the handcuffs come off, and I already knew exactly how to make that happen. The weeks following Patricia and Adrian's arrest were chaotic. The media exploded with coverage of the case, dubbing Patricia the Queen of Deceit. Headlines screamed across every news outlet. "Wealthy family dynasty crumbles in massive fraud scandal. Patricia Reed and son-in-law Adrian exposed in multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme." Every time I turned on the TV, there was another expert dissecting Patricia's empire and marveling at how deeply the corruption ran. It wasn't just financial devastation, it was social annihilation. Patricia's so-called friends abandoned her overnight. Her prestigious charity board expelled her. Her name, once spoken with reverence, became a punchline. And Adrian, he spent those first few days in jail calling me repeatedly, leaving desperate voicemails. "Ava, please, you have to believe me. I didn't know everything she was doing. I just wanted to protect us." But I never answered. He had protected no one but himself. Still, I wasn't satisfied. Patricia and Adrian were locked up, but that wasn't enough. I wanted them to feel powerless, to lose the one thing they valued above all else. Control. That's when Lily reminded me of the private trust fund Adrian had been hiding. It wasn't part of Patricia's official business, which meant the authorities didn't know about it yet. If we move fast, Lily said, we can redirect those funds to the very people Patricia scammed. Imagine the humiliation when they find out their secret stash saved the lives of the same people they destroyed. It was poetic justice. We worked through the night with Marcus and Camille, carefully transferring the money to each victim. By morning, the trust was empty, and Patricia's victims had received surprise deposits in their accounts, accompanied by an anonymous note. From the ones who took everything from you, and the one who made sure they paid it back. The next day, Patricia was brought to court for her arraignment. I attended, dressed elegantly in a sleek black dress, every inch of me calm and collected. Patricia looked nothing like the regal woman I once knew. Her pearls were gone, replaced by a drab prison jumpsuit. Her hair, once perfectly coiffed, now hung limp and unkempt. When our eyes met across the courtroom, her face twisted with pure venom. "You think you've won, Ava?" she hissed as the guards led her past me. "This isn't over." I smiled sweetly. "Oh, Patricia, it's been over for a long time. You just didn't realize it." Adrian shuffled behind her, his wrists bound, his eyes hollow. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. I could see it in his face, the realization that he had gambled and lost everything. Months later, Patricia was sentenced to 25 years without parole. Adrian got 10. I didn't attend their sentencing. Instead, I went to the park with Lily and sat on a bench, breathing in the crisp air. For the first time in years, I felt free. "You really did it," Lily said softly, squeezing my hand. "You didn't just survive them, you destroyed them." I nodded, tears prickling my eyes. "They thought they could erase me, Lily, turn me into nothing, but I turned their greed into their undoing." She smiled. "So, what's next?" I looked toward the horizon where the sun was rising, golden and full of promise. Next, I rebuild, but this time on my own terms. As for Patricia and Adrian, they spend every day rotting behind bars, knowing that the woman they underestimated brought them to their knees. Sometimes, at night, I imagine Patricia lying awake in her cold, gray cell, replaying every choice she made, and realizing that the empire she built, the son she manipulated, and the life she craved, all belong to me now. And I smile. Because revenge isn't about anger. It's about balance. And finally, the scales are even. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss another gripping tale of revenge and justice. Share this story with someone who loves dramatic twists and satisfying endings. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were Ava? Your support helps us keep bringing you these powerful stories.